Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. I hope you're doing very well this evening, and some quite significant developments coming through on multiple areas really. We'll be talking about Sancho and Grealish at the start, also Jesse Lingard, a couple of other things as well. But let's start off with this news that's coming out of Sky Sports tonight, both involving Jadon Sancho and involving Jack Grealish. And effectively what we're talking about here is a situation whereby, let me just, you get off there. What are you doing? What are you doing? Right, let's get there. A situation whereby, well, let's start off with Sancho. What they're saying is that talks have begun between Manchester United and Borussia Dortmund, that Manchester United are unwilling to go up to 120 million euros, but that they are the only they are the only club in talks with Dortmund for Jadon Sancho. Dortmund are relaxed. They want to keep him for another year and see what happens next summer. Manchester United don't want to be held to ransom. Similar stories. But what's interesting about this is that yesterday morning, I said this yesterday morning, I spoke to my guy yesterday morning, he said Man United have started talks for Dortmund, and on Grealish, I'm not so sure that's going to happen now. But let's stick it to Sancho. This is what these talks started yesterday. They probably started before yesterday, but yesterday with Champions League football, United realised they haven't got ages to do this deal. They know they take 5-6 weeks to do a deal, and in 5 or 6 weeks' time, the Premier League season starts. So they can't take all summer. They can't pop off to Malaysia for a holiday or wherever, and they've got to crack on with it. And United did start cracking on with it seriously yesterday. That continues today. No official bids gone in it yet. What Sky are reporting is what I was told yesterday, and I think what many of you would deduce is happening as well, is that United are talking about the transfer fee and the structure of payments at the moment before an official bid goes in. I think this is going to be protracted. I think Jadon Sancho will have a big part in it, and I think United will get this deal done eventually, because I think Dortmund, as Sky Cafe was said on Sky Sports, Manchester United are unwilling to pay ridiculous amounts of money for Jadon Sancho in this market when we've had a worldwide shutdown of financial markets, football markets, whatever, for 3 months. And if Dortmund think that they can have 11 times what they paid for Jadon Sancho 2 or 3 years ago, they're having a bloody laugh. And I think they are having a laugh. And it feeds nicely into what I was going to say about Jack Grealish very, very quickly, because I think it's the same as Jadon Sancho. Of course, there will be defenders of the earth. Remember that? Defenders of the earth. Defenders. You're probably not that old. But there will be defenders of clubs here saying, wow, he's a Dortmund player. It's up to Dortmund what they say. It's up to Dortmund. And that's exactly right. But I'll tell you what, I'm a football fan. It's up to me what I say. And I think I said this before. I think it's a bit of a PISS take. I don't know why I didn't just say it. I think it's a bit of a piss take. I do think it's a piss take, because they bought him for 10 million. They gave him an opportunity. That doesn't mean you can absolutely hold him to ransom and keep him at that club when he doesn't want to be there. I think Jadon Sancho wants to go. I think Dortmund, know your place in football. I've had Dortmund fans bloody having a go at me on Twitter. Like, hold on a minute. I couldn't give two shits about Borussia Dortmund, to be honest. I like your football club. I like the football you play. I like your shirt. I like your ground. I like your crowd. I like the way that you develop young talent. But at the end of the day, I support Manchester United. That's my club. And the reality is, that's all I care about. And ultimately, if you're such a great club that buys young talent and then sells it on, then are you not just like a farmer who goes and buys a piglet and then fattens it up and sells it as a pig? Like, ultimately, know your role in the footballing world. You're not there to buy something really cheap and then absolutely extort the market. That's, what sort of credible moral ground is that to say, oh, look at us, we're a developer of talent, we're so great? I don't think that. I think at the end of the day, Jadon Sancho, well done. You bought him, you developed him. Now sell him for a reasonable price. And in this market, I think we all know, I think even an Arsenal fan would know, I think even a Spurs fan would know, a Chelsea fan would know, a City fan would know, that a fair price for Jadon Sancho is about 80 to 90 million pounds. And this 110 million that they seem to be asking for in this market, I'm sorry, is bloody ridiculous. And if I was Jadon Sancho's agent, I would be saying, you're being bloody ridiculous. He's given you 3 years. He's been one of your best players. You got him for 10 million. Sell him for 80 million. Put a couple of add-ons on it. And goodbye. Auf Wiedersehen. I should have said that. That would have worked better. Auf Wiedersehen, pet. That would have worked even better. Welcome to the Members Club. We've got Matt Burton and Biggie M. Look, apologies. It's all about opinion. Of course it is. It's going to get better than this. You've not heard what I've got to say about Lingard yet. So That's going to be. Don't worry, I'm not going to go in on Lingard, but effectively Jesse Lingard is, what I believe in an Instagram post, said that he's staying at Manchester United and he's here to commit to the club and fight harder. I don't agree with that. I like Jesse Lingard, but I don't agree with that, and I'll be talking about him in a minute. Mark, you're not getting Sancho for less than 100 million, says Sem Matalandwa. Mate, what is it? My money? No, I don't care what we pay for him. I just think that Dortmund are taking the piss. And I don't like clubs that hold themselves up as this great place for developing talent. Well, if I was a young player, if I was Jude Bellingham, I would watch very carefully how they treat Jadon Sancho on this. Because if they hold out for a ridiculous fee and keep him somewhere he doesn't want to be, suddenly Dortmund aren't such a great place to go if you're a young player, because you go there on the cheap, they develop you, and then they charge ridiculous money for you. So I would be very careful of Dortmund, the great club that develops young talent. If that's what they're doing, they're just, to me, that's not very moral, and it's not. But at the end of the day, Dortmund fans will be going shut up. A lot of people will be saying shut up. All I care about is Manchester United. So there you go. Another thing, though, I mean, look, Sancho. So if you just tuned in a bit late, Sky are basically saying what we said yesterday morning. Talks have begun. No official bid yet. They're talking about the structure of the deal. For all that little moan about the price, I'm very, very confident. I'm 90% sure Manchester United will get this deal done, because Sancho wants to go. Dortmund know he's got to go, and Manchester United want him. So I think that it will happen. But the talks are ongoing. No official bid gone in yet. No other club in for him. Let's see how it develops. So it's not really massive news, but when it's when Sky are doing it, people are like, oh, it's breaking news, even though we spoke about this yesterday morning. Any thoughts on Florentino Luis? He's a CDM, or Eduardo Camavinga to share the load with Matic? Louis will be amazing. Well, Sadawanda, I like those sort of players, but I don't think United look in those sort of players. Mark, you're not getting. I've read that from Sem. And Michael Hawks says, Mark, what do you think about cashing in on Henderson and sell to Chelsea? That's an extra 55 million towards our transfer budget. Also Van der Beek over Grealish, says Michael. Well, I'll talk about that in a minute, because it doesn't look like we're going to be getting any money for Jesse Lingard if Jesse Lingard is declaring his future is at Manchester United. I don't quite know how that works. I don't know how Jesse Lingard decides that he stays at Manchester United. I mean, ultimately, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should be having a part in this, calling him in the office and saying, look, with all due respect, Jesse, you're a great lad, you're a great servant to the club, but it's time to move on. I want to sell you. That happens the world over in football. It's not even Jesse Lingard's fault. Like, he probably does want to stay at United. It's his family. He loves it here. His real family's here. He wants stability. I'm sure he wants that. But we're a football club. We're not a charity. We're a football club. And ultimately, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is trying to build a team to topple a very ruthless, well-oiled machine in Liverpool and Man City. We're going to cut corners and say, yeah, you can stay and you can take a place on the bench and you can take wages when you're not good enough. How can you progress? You've got to be ruthless. And I feel painful to say this, because I do like Jesse Lingard. And if I actually thought he was good enough, I'd be like, yeah, let's give him another chance. I don't think he's good enough. And there's nothing I would like more than to be shown this clip in a year's time when he's PFA Player of the Year holding up a Premier League trophy for Manchester United. But it ain't going to happen. Not in my opinion. I think it's time for Jesse to go. But we'll talk about that in a moment. I want to talk about it's time for Jesse to go with a pat on the back, a thank you very much. Go get back in the England squad and build your career at your 27. That's what it is. It's not get out our club like it is for some people. It's not that at all. I just think it's best for him and it's best for us. But Jack Grealish transfer, also Sky Sports saying Jack Grealish transfer. The interest has cooled from Manchester United. Now, is this coincidental that it's cooled on the same day that Jesse Lingard looks like he's staying at the club? I mean, that's the payoff there, isn't it? You don't get Grealish because Lingard's staying. And that is, forget Lingard, forget Grealish, forget Ollie for a minute. That's beyond that. That's right up to the top of the club again. That's back to the board. We ain't spending money. You can keep Lingard. He sells shirts. You're not having Grealish. We're not interested in progress. We're happy with top four. Do it again next year, Ollie. There's a little bit of money for you. A bit of pocket money. Thank you very much. And that's the worry that sort of is bubbling up amongst the United fan base at the moment is, what is the actual ambition of this football club? Jadon Sancho is a very ambitious signing, but it's also a huge signing for the club. Sponsors, PR. That's a signing the club want to do. Yes, it helps the team, but it definitely helps them on the business side of things. But as a football club, to beat Liverpool, we know we need 3 or 4 signings this summer. So what is the plan to do that? Are we actually looking to do that, or are we actually going to be saving money. That's going to be very interesting. How we get Sancho, he will be so good in the Prem, says Terry Fort. This is Hope, sorry. Mancunian by heart says, Craig Burley clearly shows how most of the ESPN pundits are biased. I'm loving it when pundits moan about United. That shows we're on track. Herm, I think you mean Messi Lingard scored the winner and secured third, says Messi Lingard 14. And Spencer McKinnon, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. And Christian Cruz says, hey Mark, hope all is well. It's my wife Kelly's birthday. Could you please give her a birthday shout out from me? Let's go United. Let's everybody give a happy birthday to Kelly. Grealish or Van der Beek, said somebody. I can't see who said it. There they are. Jerome T. Green. He says Grealish or Van der Beek. Well, I'm talking about Grealish now, actually, but so you can make your minds up. Sal Pereira and Mata, and I would keep Lingard. In my opinion, he's a better squad player and would offer more from the bench than those two. Says one day you may. That's an interesting point. We'll come back to that. That is an interesting point. But as we know, I don't think Mata and Pereira are going to go either. So if you keep Mata, Pereira and Lingard next season, what's the bloody point in trying to build a team? That's 3 players that aren't good enough to mount a title challenge. So he's got to clear this. He's got to clear this squad. There's got to be some big decisions. And look, Ollie's the man to do it. He is the man to do it. He walked straight in. He got rid of Fellaini. That to me is one of the best things he's ever done. Hi Mark, says Alan Thomas. I love the shows. Who do you think we will actually be able to sell in this transfer window? Is Smalling coming back, and is he a good partner for Maguire? Well, we'll talk about that in a moment because I need to talk about Grealish. And would United keep Lingard for his brand image? The whole J Lingard's brand that gets United selling shirts with his name, and the whole Messi Lingard meme, says Rio East. Maybe. And Fergie was ruthless at moving players on at the right time. Klopp moved players on too, says Robbo FM. And that feeds nicely in with what Rio was saying there. If Manchester United are such a business club that they don't want to move a player on because of his catchphrase, his trademark and his T-shirts, maybe look at what Sir Alex Ferguson did with David Beckham. It's always got to be about the football. We let Beckham go. Beckham probably would have wanted to go anyway, but I think we could have forced him to stay because he loved the club. We let him go. Mr. Marketability. And we let him go because it was about the football with Sir Alex. It should be with Ollie. Regan Wilson, thoughts on Kingsley Coman? I think it would be a massive downgrade, mate. Keep up the work. Help me through depression. I hope you're doing well, Regan. Big shout out to you. Ginger says, hey Mark, loving the content as always. Bit off a weird one, but why are you not verified on Twitter? God only knows, Ginger. I really don't know why I'm not verified on Twitter. Just tweet, please verify at Mark Goldbridge, but they won't do it. I don't think they're verifying many people at the moment. Hi Mark, I've been watching you for years. Can you call me a prat? Says Kian Dickens. You're a prat, Kian. Tyrone Mings, why is he not being talked about? Says Ellie Jenks, because he's shit. And when do you think Sancho will get done? Says Extra Z. Right, you've just pulled me into a couple of things before I talk about Jack Grealish. So, Sky are saying the 10th of August, which is what Christian Falk said when he was on the show last week. So, 10th of August is looking like the date that Sancho will go back training with Dortmund. So the 10th of August is looking like a big day. Doesn't mean it'll happen on 10th of August, but maybe if we're getting close, Dortmund will say to Sancho, don't come back to training. So I wouldn't say definitely the 10th of August. I don't think it will be before the 10th of August, but around the 10th of August looks good. And obviously that was what Christian Falk said. The second thing is Sky, as a certain journalist last week said about Kingsley Coman, Sky also saying Kingsley Coman is a backup for Manchester United. This is not true. This is not true. Christian Falk said it last week. I spoke to my guy yesterday. This is not true. Manchester United are not signing Kingsley Coman. He is not part of their plan. It is quite simply an unknown as to why United are getting linked to him and why credible people are saying United are linked to him. However, James Cooper at Sky Sports, very close to Manchester United, as we know. We've had him on the show. Andy Mitten, very close to Manchester United. He's been writing a fanzine for years and is now, a credible journalist, but with very good ties with Manchester United. I think that they've been given information by the club to get that Kingsley Coman story out there, or somebody, because Manchester United won't be signing Kingsley Coman. It's not going to happen. It won't be. The fans won't be happy with that anyway. That won't be a decision. Kingsley Coman, if Bayern Munich sell him, they'll want good money for him. Do you think Man United are going to spend 50 million on Kingsley Coman to go back for Jadon Sancho next summer? It would be the biggest step down since I fell down the steps pissed outside Gibney's in Malahide in 2001. It would. And it was a real shock, and it really hurt, and it was a massive step down. So I think that Manchester United and Kingsley Coman, that can't happen. I don't think it would happen, and I don't think Manchester United Football Club are that naive anymore to do those sort of deals. I think it's out there to maybe worry Dortmund a bit, but I don't think Dortmund are that stupid. So I think it's just a pointless story, really. I mean, A says no Koeman or Perisic. I'd still swap Perisic for Sanchez just to get rid of Sanchez. But let me just talk about Jack Grealish and James, thank you. And hey Mark, love the show. Who do you think we will actually be able to sell in the transfer window? That was Alan Thomas. We're going to come back to that. Let me talk to you about Jack Grealish. So the Jack Grealish story is today coming from Sky that Manchester United have cooled their interest in Jack Grealish because this 80 million, 70 million fee is being thrown around there. Can I just say to you as well, I know I had a little bit of a pop at Dortmund. I'm now going to have a pop at Aston Villa. And I know a lot of Villa fans, and they'll be like, shut up, Goldbridge, you're a prat. They will say that, and I have a drink with them, and they'll still say it. Because that's the beauty of football. It's not vicious with a lot of people. It's just we love our football, and we'll say what we think, and that's absolutely fine. So I think what Villa have done with Jack Grealish, I feel sorry for Jack Grealish. Because think about this scenario, right? Jack Grealish gets relegated with Villa. He's got to be sold. There's no way Jack Grealish is playing in the Championship next year. It's probably even in his contract. So Jack Grealish would be sold by Villa. They would have to sell him if they hadn't stayed up. And they would have needed money as well. So they would have sold him for about 50 million quid. 50 million quid, Jack Grealish, thumbs up, Manchester United. I'm happy with that deal, right? Jack Grealish keeps Aston Villa up and gets priced out of moving. I mean, what's the reward there for Jack Grealish? He has single-handedly at times kept Aston Villa up this season. And his reward for doing that, for a player who loves Aston Villa, it's his club, but at 24, 25, he wants to test himself high up. It's just the way of the world. There'll be plenty of Brighton footballers in the future, Bournemouth footballers, Southampton footballers who love that club, but will move to United or Liverpool or wherever because they want to try themselves at the highest level. Jack Grealish can't do that with Aston Villa. That's never going to happen. So you're asking him to stay in a bottom half Premier League club for the rest of his career. That's not fair. He's better than that. So Jack Grealish deserves that move. He kept Aston Villa up and now he's priced out of it because Villa have gone, well, now we've stayed up. We don't need to take 50 million. We now want 70 million or 80 million. And I tell you what, we're going to drive a hard bargain. And I don't know whether anybody else has ever actually thought this. But to me, look, I don't mind if we get Van der Beek and we don't get Grealish, I'm not that bothered. If we get Maddison and not Grealish, I'm not that bothered. It's not like Sancho where I'm like, it's got to be Sancho. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I'd like a player like Jack Grealish to come to the club. I think he's good enough to come to Manchester United. But I have to look at it in a way and say, I think this is really unfair. I think it's really unfair. And again, you know, clubs over the years have been very vocal about how players have got the power. I don't think they have anymore. Did they ever have the power? Because unless a player goes on strike, for which they would get vilified in the modern media, imagine going on strike now with social media, you'd get absolutely slaughtered. So the clubs, to me, have more power now. And, you know, Jack Grealish is probably there playing against United a couple of weeks ago thinking, I've got to play well because I want to get a move to this club. And now he's not getting a move anywhere. Like Man City, Chelsea, United, Liverpool, Spurs, Arsenal, none of those can afford Jack Grealish now because Aston Villa have stayed up because of Jack Grealish and they've priced him out of a move. I think it's wrong. I think it's really wrong. I mean, Jack Grealish is a professional footballer. He's not going to purposely get his club relegated because he loves that club. So he's fought tooth and nail to keep him up. And instead of getting his dream move for 50 million to United, he's now stuck at Villa for another year because they're saying, well, we stayed up. Sit down, Man United. We want 80 million. We want way more than he's worth because we're in the Premier League. Excuse me, mate. Do you know why you're in the Premier League? I don't care. No, you're in the Premier League because of Jack Grealish. I don't care. We want 80 million. We're in it for the money. Well, that player there kept you up and you won't sell him now. Don't care. It's just an odd mentality as far as I'm concerned. Udit says, when is the transfer window opening and the rival club's fans appreciating Bruno for having a sudden impact on United position? The transfer window is open, Udit. And welcome to the members club, LFC Rise. And one day you may, he says, I'm not convinced we can rely on Matic next season to play well week in and week out. In my opinion, Ndidi would be just as important and big of a signing as Sancho. Well, I think we'd all like Ndidi, but it won't happen. Jones, Smalling, Pereira, Rojo, Igalo, leaving, in my opinion. Good signings will be Sancho, Aki, Campbell, Upamecano. Jerome T. Green, would you take Koeman this season on loan if it means we get Sancho next season? Says Jerome T. Green. No. There is no way that Borussia Dortmund are going to say we'll sell him next season to you. That would just be the biggest car crash ever. Kingsley Coman comes on loan for a year because we think we're going to get Sancho next year, and then Barcelona or Real Madrid have got money and they go in for him, or Liverpool. No, we can't do that. Hi Mark, I love your channel. What percentage will Sancho come to United this summer, and how big do you think his impact will be if he comes? 90%. I'm 90% sure we'll get him, and the impact. Well, look, I just think he's a star quality player, and he's going to get better and better. So I think he can only make us better. The thing about Sancho is if he does come to United, and I'll repeat this when he's signed. The thing about Sancho is that I wouldn't put a massive amount of pressure on him. I felt with Bruno he was going to be perfect and hit the ground running. I just knew that about Bruno. I think with Sancho I'd be a little bit more. I've seen him play badly for Dortmund and I've seen him play brilliantly. He's still a young lad. He's got to adjust to the Premier League. There's going to be so much hype around him. I'm not going to put a massive amount of pressure on Sancho. And I also think people like Marcus Rashford, Anthony Martial, Mason Greenwood, Paul Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, they can allow Sancho to settle in. So, yeah, I think long term he'll be a fantastic player. Sean Turner says, I normally moan when we just don't pay what a team wants for a player, but I don't know what Dortmund are smoking. They can do one. £100 million, no chance. What do we think about Grealish before we go back to that? What do we think about the Grealish thing? I'd rather have Ndidi for 80 million if we spend that much rather than Grealish, says Sharia. And would you bring Smalling if we don't bring in a centre-back, Mark, says Regan Wilson? I would. And I just want to say this on Jack Grealish. Manchester United's action around Jack Grealish is absolutely spot on, and I applaud it. We should not be held to ransom. We should cool our interest and we should walk away. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. We should not pay anything over £60 million for Jack Grealish. And actually the article said what we were talking about this morning. You're paying a lot of money for a player that actually, where does he fit in at Manchester United? And I think what Ole Gunnar... in fact, look, can I be honest? I know this. In fact, I absolutely know this. So let me just say this. Manchester United wanted to sign Jack Grealish in February because they thought Paul Pogba was going this summer. Forget COVID-19, forget we've had that 3-month lockdown, forget all those poor people who've lost their family members and those poor people who lost their lives. If COVID-19 hadn't happened and football had just continued until May, Paul Pogba was going to leave this summer because lots of clubs would have had a lot more money than they've got now. So Pogba would have left and Manchester United had plans to sign Jack Grealish. That's what was going to happen. So the interest around Jack Grealish is because United were going to sign Jack Grealish and Paul Pogba was going to leave United. Now, Pogba's not leaving United this summer, but Manchester United still retained an interest in Jack Grealish for the reasons we have an interest in Jack Grealish, because beyond Pogba and beyond Bruno, there is no creativity from the bench. So United were very much thinking, well, we still want to sign Jack Grealish. We've had talks with Villa. We still want to sign him. And the feeling was that for 50 million quid, if Villa got relegated, he was a worthwhile signing because Pogba might go in a year's time. That's what United were thinking. Now Villa have stayed up and Villa are saying we want 70 million. United are suddenly like, you can jog on. You can absolutely jog on. We're not paying 70 million for Jack Grealish. And we're not paying 70 million for a player that actually we don't necessarily need. So United are like, forget about it. And that goes back to what I said before. I feel very sorry for Jack Grealish because he's worked his arse off in a shit team to keep Villa up. And now he's been priced out of a move by the club that he kept up. It's not fair, is it? But that's football, I suppose. We won't get to hear Saeed telling us how great Jack Grealish is next season. The interesting thing is, and this comes on to the next topic, the interesting thing is, does that mean that Manchester United will now not be looking for a midfielder? And look, Van der Beek's available for 40 million, but I never believed that Manchester United were in for Van der Beek. So I know people are talking about 2 or 3 transfer signings, but for the love of God, please tell me what these 3 signings are. You know, what 3 signings positions are we looking at now? With Sancho hopefully coming in and Greenwood the choice after that, what role does Dan James have at United now? Worth loaning or selling, says Ria West. And I can already see all the agendas towards Sancho once he starts playing for us. I'm convinced they will shut them all up, says One Day You May. Patience is important. Sancho should be the priority. Van der Beek and a centre-back, and that would be the budget. That would be a successful transfer window, says Jack Birtles. I'd be very, very happy with that. I'd be very, very happy with that. Ria West, just on Dan James, I've always said that next season for Dan James is the big season. He's a well-liked player. He's had a very hard year. He lost his dad. He's moved to a massive club. I think at times he's looked very good and at times he's looked very bad. Next year's the year for Dan James. But let me just tell you this. I wouldn't loan him and I wouldn't sell him. I would not even start having the conversation that Dan James is not good enough. He suffers with football intelligence, but he's come from the Championship. He needs to work on that. He can work on that. He's young enough. You've got Rashford, Martial, Greenwood. You add in Sancho, you've got Agallo, you've got Dan James. You need 6 players for 3 positions. So Dan James, to me, still a big part of United's season next year. Jerome T. Green says, this worries me. I think United might only get Sancho. It sounds like we're content with Lingard. So Jesse Lingard has put a post on Instagram today basically saying that United's his family. He's not had a great year. He's let his standards drop. He's going to work. He's working harder. And he'll do everything he can to make this club realise its dreams. To me, that does not sound like a player that has appointed Mino Raiola to get him a move out of Manchester. This sounds to me like a player that wants to stay at Manchester United. Now, I don't know what people think. And to be honest with you, if you want Jesse Lingard to stay and have and get a new contract, I agree with you. I'm not going to argue with you. If that's what you want to happen, I'm going to agree with you. I'm just going to give my opinion on this. From a fan channel point of view, it's all about opinions. And if you think Lingard should stay and you want him to be given a chance, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. Sometimes I'll tell you you're wrong because I'll get very passionate about it. I'm not that passionate about this. I'm just going to give an honest opinion on what is quite a serious topic because we know that Jesse Lingard has had issues off the pitch, 100%. And in that, everyone's a human being and that is very important. But from a footballing point of view and in a Manchester United point of view, I don't support individual players. I just don't do that. I support Manchester United. I love Anthony Martial. I love Marcus Rashford. I love Bruno Fernandes. I think Luke Shaw's a very good left back. There's a few other players that I really like, but I support Manchester United. I support Manchester United. That's the team that I support. And from a Manchester United point of view, if we're just going to sign Sancho because we're keeping Lingard, Pereira and Mata, I'm sorry, I worry about us getting anywhere near Liverpool or Man City in the next couple of years. We have got to take what happened over the last season and take it to a next level next year. Otherwise, we're just going to do this every year. We're going to finish 3rd or 4th or 5th. And we'll have a good first 11 who can beat anybody on their day, but we won't have the depth to be a title-winning side. And I'm sorry, Andres Pereira is never going to be good enough. Juan Mata's never going to be good enough anymore. He's too old. And Jesse Lingard, in my opinion, is not good enough. What role does he have at Manchester United? It's all about, it's all right being, we love Jesse, and I loved that goal he scored at the weekend because I actually thought that's his perfect goodbye moment. You leave on good terms, you go and build your career. Jesse Lingard played a World Cup semi-final 2 years ago. He will never play for England again as a Manchester United player because he won't ever play. What's his path to the first team at Manchester United? That's, let's decide. Let me explain myself here because there will be people saying, well, you're just hating on him. I'm not hating on him. I like him. But I just don't see what his path to the first team is. Why do people think Munich will loan us Koeman and help their big rivals keep their best player, says Julian. Good point. And Villa have ruined it for Grealish. Very selfish for everything he's done for that club. Ollie should try and bring Martin Odegaard in. Good squad player, says Sean Turner. And also, TVS, you missed my donation, so here is the same donation. Have you seen that Bournemouth are going to legally challenge the Villa game against Sheffield United? This could make Grealish cheaper. Thoughts? Well, you know what? I'm not surprised that's going to happen, but that's TVS, I'm not surprised. Would you rather United get a strong leader in defence alongside Maguire or another creative midfielder along with Bruno and Pogba? Love you, says LFC Rise. I think an attacking midfielder to back up Bruno and Pogba is very important because I don't trust Lingard, Pereira or Mata. I'm sure we'll see the best out of Lindelof and Maguire next season. We had our 3rd best defence this season. Just need to cut them stupid mistakes out, says One Day You May. It's quite split in the live comments. Some people are saying keep Lingard. Some people are saying move him on. The thing I would say is he's 27 years of age. He played in a World Cup semi-final. He was an England regular. What's his path to the first team to get those things back? And look, yeah, cynics will say he's on good money. He's marketable. He loves it in Manchester. All those things. No one will buy him. Of course. But Mino Raiola will get him a move somewhere. Whether it's Italy, a Premier League club in the mid-table, he'll get him a move somewhere. It might be a bit of a pay cut, but he'll get first-team football and he can build his career again. Why would Jesse Lingard not want to do that? Why does he want to stay in the security blanket of Manchester United? Now, that may well be for very legitimate off-the-field reasons that he wants to stay at this club. But I'm telling you now, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer should take it. Well, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can do what he wants. You know, he's earned that right. But if I was Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, I would call Jesse in a room and I would say, Jesse, look, at the end of the day, you've been a great servant to this club, but it's time to move on. I can't even get you on the bench next season. I know you're working hard. I know you want to give absolutely everything. But for the last 2 years, I've been watching you, and that everything, it's not good enough for Manchester United. And plenty of players before you and plenty of players after you will have this same conversation. This is Manchester United Football Club. It's the elite football club. We have to be elite. You can go and play first team football for a team in Italy or a mid-table club in England, but you cannot occupy a place within my squad next season. So start looking for a club and we will help you out with that. That's what I would do, because ultimately I just feel it's sentimentality. I don't see, forget the first team, I don't even see how he gets on the bench next season. You know, if you buy Jadon Sancho, that means Greenwood or Rashford or Martial have got to go on the bench. You've got Pereira still at the club. You've got Mata still at the club. You've got McTominay and Fred on the bench. We need to buy an attacking midfielder as well. If we buy a Van der Beek or a Grealish, they're going straight on the bench as well. So where is Jesse Lingard's place in a Manchester United bench? And where is Jesse Lingard ever going to be a first-team player at Manchester United? You've got Sancho, you've got Rashford, you've got Greenwood, you've got Martial. In the midfield, you've got Pogba, you've got Bruno. You need to buy a midfielder as well. Where would he ever get in? So I don't think it's sad. I just think Manchester United and Jesse need to have a proper sit down and say, look, it's the end of the road, but it's not the end of the road for your career. You need this. You're 27 years of age. You're a fantastic, you know, you've got a fantastic talent. There's no doubt about that. Whatever anybody says, he's got a talent. It might not just be at Manchester United. And loads of people would love the opportunity you've got. Loads of people. You've played for Manchester United Football Club. You've played in a World Cup semi-final. You've played for England. You've got 4 or 5 years left in your career. Don't waste that time, that when you're at 10 years from now, when you're 37 and you look back on your career and say, I spent my prime years sat on a bench at best for Manchester United. Is that what you want with the rest of your career? Or do you want to actually go and play football? Do the thing that you've been given the talent to do? I don't know. And look, I totally agree with anybody who says opposite. No, he's a great lad. I still believe there's a player there. He's had off-field issues. He can still be a valuable player for our squad. If you think that, I'm not going to disagree with you. I'm just telling you what I think. And look, ultimately, I feel bad for saying it. I feel harsh for saying it because I do like Jesse Lingard. I'm not doing it from a hate point of view. I'm just doing it from what I think's best for his career, but more importantly, what's best for Manchester United. And that's where I'm coming at with this. And I worry. I do worry that on the day that Jack Grealish is now no longer an interest for United, and on the day that Lingard's put an Instagram post out saying, I want to stay at the club, are the United now saying, we don't need an attacking midfielder. We've got Lingard, we've got Pereira, and we've got Mata. Well, we know that's not good enough. You get an injury to Bruno or he gets knackered and you go back to using those players. We're struggling to break teams down. And the evidence is there in the first 6 months of this season. Why did the team go from 14 points off third to third? Well, Bruno came in. Why were we 14 points off third? Because we were playing Lingard, Pereira and Mata. The evidence is there. Ollie knows it's there. This is about being a ruthless manager. Sir Alex Ferguson would not have hesitated. This would have been done probably a year ago. So Ollie needs to have that ruthless streak that he did with Fellaini, that he did with Lukaku, and that he did with Av Sanchez. Of course, the other interesting thing with Lingard is, just before we move on, is that he's only got 1 year left on his contract. So not only might we keep him, we might give him a new contract. Rio West says, noticed and seen lots of Fergie around the club recently since Ollie came in. Is he just a passive viewer, or was there perhaps more than Ollie involved in managing us to third? I don't know. Look, let's be fair to Sir Alex. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, it's like your dad. If you think about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he came to Manchester as a young Norwegian and he left to manage. You know, his whole career was Manchester United as a playing career in England. Sir Alex Ferguson was a massive part of that. He's a guru, he's a granddad, he's the dad, he's the don, whatever. So that man is still at that club, and he's been watching Man United games during lockdown. He will be a shoulder to lean on. He will be a voice. He will be somebody that Ollie goes to, but Ollie's still going to be the man who gets the credit. A CDM is the most important transfer as we need it to shield our captain, Fridge, and unleash the attack, says Dylan Taylor. Mark, what's the difference between how we treated De Gea to the Madrid move and how Villa are treating Jack, says Jared Givens. The Scousers are bloody getting rid of their Deadwood. We are seeing no movement for hours, says KA. Well, that's a big part of this summer, isn't it, KA and everybody? What we do with our Deadwood is almost important as what we do with regards to the players coming in. Still can't believe we let Gomez go without giving him a chance. No way Pereira, Lingard or Mata offer more. I just can't get my head around it. Well, yeah, one day you may is a very good point about Angel Gomez. What about Cantwell as a cheaper alternative to Grealish, and having a backup to Matic is so important? I'd offer Chelsea Henderson for Kante. Thoughts? Mark Coughlin, you know what? That was a question we were asked. Would I cash in on Dean Henderson? Well, if Jesse Lingard stays, that's 20 million we're not getting. Delo, I think, will go for about 20 million. Rojo, we might get 25. Smalling, we might get 10, 35. Sanchez, we might get a packet of crisps. It's the wages there, isn't it? So, you know, Dean Henderson going to Chelsea would be maybe 40, 50 million quid, which could help the team. And ultimately, De Gea is our first choice goalkeeper, so you could take that money, and De Gea is only 29, so De Gea could be our goalkeeper for the next 6-7 years. So Dean Henderson, as much as we might want to keep him, look, you know what? I'm not saying do it. I've not thought it through it, but you know what? That sort of question, I'm sure the live comments are going to be full of no. But let's just put it down to this. Let me just answer these super chats, and I'll come back to that. Virej Desponder, latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Thank you very much. Tushar says, Mark, what's your say on Sergej Milinkovic-Savic? I remember how much we were in for him under Jose. Lazio had a very good season. We're not in for him. He's a good player, but we're not in for him. He was a Jose player. He's not a player that Ollie's looking at. I've got a bad feeling about this summer with our board. They've shown incompetence, as Jerome T. Green. I'm worried that because we got third, they think the team is good. I said it a few times in lockdown, didn't I, Jerome, that Manchester United might just end up with Jadon Sancho and very little leaving the club. I don't think that massively improves Manchester United. I think it improves us, but one player doesn't make us a team that can fight for a title. That squad, as we saw in the last few weeks when it got tired, it's crap beyond the best 11. You get an injury to Luke Shaw, we lose balance. You get Matic and Bruno and Pogba tired, you lose the midfield battle, and you don't get the ball to the front three. We need a bench, and we don't have a bench. Whether it's Fred, McTominay, Lingard, Pereira, Mata, Agallo, Bailey, they're not actually good enough. It's like falling off a cliff when you take your best players off. So United need to build a squad. That's what this summer transfer window should be all about. We'll have to wait and see. The club needs to deliver for me. But going back to Dean Henderson, all I'd say is this. I've thought it through for a minute. All I'd say about Dean Henderson is this. You've got David De Gea and you've got Dean Henderson. They're both young enough to be Manchester United's first choice goalkeeper for 6 years. The next 6 years. What do you do with the other one? Because one of those goalkeepers is going to be our goalkeeper for the next 6 years, and one of them's not. Are you going to keep a player? Like David De Gea is probably worth 50 million. Dean Henderson's probably worth 50 million. You're going to keep 50 million on the bench when you need to rebuild your team and you don't get loads of money from your owners. One of them's got to be sold, hasn't it? Let's be honest. One of them has got to be sold. We can elongate the whole let's loan Dean Henderson out for another year and see where we are in a year. But if David De Gea has a good year next year, why would you remove him for Dean Henderson? Oh, Dean, you're going to go on loan again. At some point, Dean Henderson goes, look, I want to play for Manchester United. I think I'm better than De Gea. Are you going to sell De Gea? No. Well, I'm not going to be the reserve goalkeeper because I'm wasting my time. Sell me. And you know what? Fair play to those people who've brought those comments in tonight, because it's a very good point. You could sell... Look, we're not going to sell David De Gea. We can't sell David De Gea because no one will buy David De Gea at the moment. But somebody would buy Dean Henderson. Maybe Chelsea would sign De Gea. I don't know. But if you could sell one of those goalkeepers, I think actually 50 million, 40 million, that money really massively helps us out to get a midfielder or a centre-back. So look, that's the sort of ruthless decision-making you've got to make, isn't it? As a manager of Manchester United, I think actually it's somewhat weak to keep both goalkeepers because you're just putting off a decision that inevitably is going to happen. You can't have De Gea and Henderson at the same club because they're too good to be a reserve goalkeeper. And Romero's hardly played any football this year. You're going to do that to Dean Henderson. You're going to do that to David De Gea, especially when David De Gea is on 350k a week. You are not having a player on the bench for 350k a week, and you are not keeping Dean Henderson on the bench when he's one of the best. For me, he's England's best goalkeeper. One of them's got to be sold. And that money would come in handy. It would. I mean, James Gavin says I'd sell Fred. To be honest with you, I think Fred, McTominay, Pereira, these are players that are not going to be sold this summer, but these are players that maybe over the next year or two may have to be moved on if they don't start fulfilling their potential successfully. They're not high enough on the Deadwood list to go this summer. I do worry about Fred's future, by the way. I mean, it's not really something I wanted to delve into. I worry about McTominay's future as well when we gave him a 5-year contract and he went missing after lockdown. You saw him running around in lockdown with his little Wonder Bra on. It's not a Wonder Bra, it's a heart monitor. 6-pack, looks absolutely ripped, comes back absolutely terrible. Fred, one of the players of the season before lockdown, comes back absolutely terrible. I don't know, and again, this would be another thing I would do as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I would be sitting Fred and McTominay down over the summer and saying, why when I needed you, you weren't there. I gave you the opportunities. I started you in some games. Scott started against Spurs. Matic got dropped. Fred started some games as well. They both came off the bench. And, what was that game? Was it Palace where McTominay was dreadful? Fred was dreadful in another game. They were given opportunities. They were quite rightly given opportunities. They'd earned those opportunities from their performances before lockdown. But then when we needed them, at the time we needed them, they didn't deliver. That doesn't mean they won't deliver in the future. I think they will do. But they've got a very big season next season. And I was very concerned why Fred and McTominay didn't deliver when we needed them. Because they're better than that. I do worry about Fred long term. I don't know what Fred's role is, because when he subs Matic, he brings McTominay on. He doesn't bring Fred on. When he subs Pogba, he brings Fred on. But Fred's not that sort of player. He doesn't get enough goals and assists. So what is Fred's role at Manchester United in the future? Remember, we spent £50 million on Fred, and he was a Brazilian international. He's never been a Brazilian international since. So Fred is a concern. And I think his first season, he looked like he was going to be a flop. This season, we played him regularly and he did well. I think Fred's a player that needs to play regularly to play well, by the way. What will season 3 be for Fred? Because a little bit like Lingard, although I think he's more important than Lingard because he actually can come in and do a job, what's his path to the first team now? I don't see a path for Fred. I'd like to see Fred turned into a CDM, but Ollie just doesn't seem to want to do it. Daniel Luciano says, hi Mark, I'm curious if you agree. Wasn't Bruno kind of free with the money we got because of top 4, which was all thanks to him? Technically that money will have... that's a very good point, Daniel. The money we spent on Bruno, where did that come from? Was that part of the summer budget? Probably. We must sign an attacking left-back as a backup to Shaw. Shaw is injury-prone and Brandon is perfect backup for Bissaka, says one day you may. And your honest predictions on the amount of players we will get and players we will sell, says Jerome T. Green. I love these. I love these. Please smash a like on the video, by the way, and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Bottom right-hand corner, we're getting very close to 770,000. I think we're about 400 away, actually. That needs to be updated in the top right. So please subscribe if you're new, bottom right-hand corner. And thanks to everyone who's becoming a member. And also, the Greenwood T-shirt, the new Greenwood T-shirt is now available. If you look below the video, you can see all the T-shirts, and the Greenwood one is out now. Available in the black one's lovely, the red one's lovely. They do ship worldwide as well. Ria West says, Chelsea definitely need a keeper. However, their team and management are doing very well. Is it worth selling Hendo to them for the money that might impact us in our placements next season? Also, is anyone looking to buy Romero? Ria's absolutely spot on. The problem with selling Henderson to Chelsea is I don't think United would do it for that reason, because if it goes badly, people will go, oh my God. It's not... Henderson's a difficult player to sell us. I don't think it's going to happen, by the way. I don't think it's going to happen. Who do I think we're going to buy this summer? Well, look, we're a democracy with the United Stand community. It's the best community, I believe, in football. So what do you think we're going to buy? How many do you think we're going to buy, and who do you think we're going to go? If I'm absolutely honest, and this is going to sound really negative, but I'm doing it based on evidence, and I'm doing it based on hoping that this club is going to kick itself up the arse and actually do what Ollie needs doing. He needs 4 players out, he needs 3 players in. What do I think is going to happen? And look, I said after we got 3rd on Sunday, all eyes on the board now. I know we've got the Europa League, but really all eyes on the board. What are they going to do? We know they're historically slow. We know they're historically tight. I think Jadon Sancho will come in. Sanchez will go. Smalling will go. And Rojo will go. I think that's it. I think Sancho will come in and 3 will go. 1 in, 3 out. And that's it. I don't think anything else is going to happen. And look, and then if it does, I'll be pleasantly surprised. But I'm basing that on our past dealings, our recent history in dealings, and I don't think a lot has changed at Manchester United in relation to our ability to get transfers done and our appetite to really build a proper squad. And honestly, I'll be over the moon when we sign Jadon Sancho, but it's not enough. It's not enough. We've got an opportunity this summer to close the gap on teams that we never would have been able to close the gap on. Some clubs can't buy players because of COVID-19. We can. We've got the funds to do it. The players are there to do it, and we've got the gaps in our squad to do it. We should be looking to bring in three players in, and we should be looking to shift 5 out. I think we'll get 1 in and 3 out. Fred will do a better CDM than Madic. Sue me, says Marky. And also, we've had a super chat from John Black. He says, what happened to taking advantage of the market? I think the club may surprise us this window, says John Black. I hope so, and he shouts out Jenna T. Also, we've had a super chat from Joshua Harper. Remember, your Pogba last 5 match ratings are 6, 5, 5, 6. So you could argue Pogba didn't take his chance. McTominay didn't get the same opportunities. For me, it's a no-brainer to sell Henderson. Board is cheap. He's potentially at peak value. Sancho, Van der Beek, Partey, loan McTominay and Williams. Keep Smalling to delay the centre-back buy, says Michael Hawkes. I mean, I love the community because you get this out-the-box thinking, and I'm not going to argue with any of it. Mojo says Bruno has already paid us back his transfer fee by helping us qualify for the Champions League. Or that and more. One day you may say Sancho, Grealish and Ake would be a perfect summer transfer window. I'd love it. I'd love us to buy 3 players. Jerome T. Green, Sancho deal will probably take a month and the board will probably think he's enough. Worrying summer for us, Mark, says Jerome. And Reagan Wilson says, will you be doing a meetup at some point, mate? Would love to buy you a pint and talk crap with you. The Irish trip will be back on as soon as we can safely get people travelling to Ireland. I mean, we could probably do it just about now, but pubs are social distancing, aren't they? So you can't have a big meetup. You know, there'll be literally 10 of us going, hello. So as soon as those things drop, we've got the venue. It was booked in April. The deposit's been paid, so it's ready to go. It's in Dublin, but it's just when we can do it, and it will happen. James Ducker said we'll get 2 or 3 players as extras. Look, James Ducker's not the only one. James Ducker said it. James Cooper at Sky said it. My guy said it to me a couple of weeks ago. Well, not a couple of weeks ago. It was about 6 weeks ago because I hadn't spoken to him until yesterday and then 6 weeks ago. But look, these are people. If you want to believe them, believe them. I'm just telling you. I was asked a question, and look, I speak to people, but I also have this is not based on what I've been told. If you want me to tell you what I've been told, United are going to sign 2 or 3 players. If that makes you sleep better, fine. But if you're asking me what my opinion is, and we've all got an opinion, and look, I'm not just plucking this out of the sky. I'm saying it based on the way United have handled transfers over the last 3 years. I think we'll sign 1 player and we'll sell 3. And I still think next season that Phil Jones, Andres Pereira, Juan Mata, Eric Bailly, Jesse Lingard, Delo, I think they'll all still be at this football club. And that's too many. It is too many if you're trying to build a title winning side. But look, I'll love it if I get proved wrong. Because I'll tell you what, Manchester United have done a lot of positive things over the last 6 months, PR-wise. And if they want to continue that, maybe they'll surprise us and continue it by getting 2 or 3 players in and selling 4 or 5. But it's a lot of work to do when you haven't got a director of football. Yogesh says, what about getting Jan Vertonghen on a free? No, thanks. No. He's past his best. He's too old. Just seen United would be in for James Rodriguez if he is cheap now. Madrid don't want him. Would be a good bench player as a reserve for Bruno, says Matt C. Look, I like James Rodriguez, and if we bought him, I've got to be honest, it'd be a bit like when we bought Schweinsteiger. I've been on about James Rodriguez on this channel for a very long time, and I do really like him. But I tell you what, even though I like him, I would say, wow, what a risk. What a risk that is. He's so inconsistent. He doesn't seem to be interested in the talent that he's got. And he's the wrong side of 27, isn't he? So I'd be very surprised if United did that. But look, as a player to have on your bench, but would he be happy with that? I don't know. Our board cannot treat Ollie as a novice manager anymore. He now needs to be supported in the transfer market, says Mojo. And Chelsea have already bought, so that means we now have Chelsea who will go ahead of us. If Spurs and Arsenal strengthen, we could be in trouble, says Jerome T. Green. I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far. I don't think Spurs or Arsenal are going to be a threat to Manchester United next year. But they would be if we got a couple of injuries and we're stuck with the bench that we've got. I mean, look, next season we're only a Bruno Fernandes injury away from big trouble. If Bruno got injured for 6 months next season, and touch wood it won't happen, I would say we'll finish 5th or 6th. If he stays fit, then look, we could get 3rd again. If we buy right, we could really close the gap on 2nd. So we'll see what happens. A director of football in Sancho, your thoughts, says Manu Abraham. I don't believe the director of football talk. I know there is some people who do. As I said this morning, we've been down that road so many times. I've got blisters. I don't think it's going to happen. I think it's a roll of the PR spin dice to say, let's get the fan base happy. Let's say we're getting a director of football, when really we're always going to do it ourselves. Anyway, please smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And the Mason Greenwood t-shirt is out. I've ordered mine. It's not here yet because it only came out today. It will be below the video. It will be the one that's the furthest there. We've now got Greenwood, Martial, Rashford, Bruno. And yeah, thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you in the morning at 10 a.m. for Manchester United news. And I'm sure there will be some more news tomorrow because the transfer window is open. And discussions, as I said yesterday morning, discussions with Jadon Sancho have started. Some people are like, you talking out your arse, and now it's been confirmed today. All I'd say is we've had some cracking people on this channel, tier 1 journalists on this channel, and we've got contacts with a lot of people. So I don't put stuff out there unless I think it's true. And yesterday morning, that's what we were told. And also we were told yesterday morning that Grealish deal. Go back and watch yesterday's video. I can't even remember what I said about Grealish, but I'm pretty sure it was along the lines of that Grealish deal is a bit of a worry now because of the value that Villa are now going to put on him. But Solskjaer really does want Grealish, but it's the price. It's the price. As I said, I feel sorry for Grealish because I think that Villa have priced him out of a move when he's the one who kept him up. Football, eh? Thanks for watching. Speak to you in a bit.